Live from America's News headquarters, I'm Jackie Ibanez. Donald Trump back on home turf, drawing both supporters and protesters. The Republican GOP frontrunner speaking to a large crowd in a New York suburb, shrugging off last night's loss in Wisconsin to Ted Cruz. Scores of protesters gathered outside the venue, but police kept things mostly calm there. And a wildfire burning out of control in Oklahoma. Look at this, the worst of it in Woodward County, not far from the borders with Kansas and Texas. So far, there are no reports of serious injuries. Some tense moments were caught on camera yesterday. A TV news crew saw this man running away from a truck yesterday right before flames swallowed it. Incredibly scary. Another person has died from a defective Takata airbag. Honda now reporting the 10th U.S. death. Honda claims it mailed multiple recall notices to the Civic owner, but recall repairs were never made. I'm Jackie Ibanez. Now back to Hannity.
Welcome back to Hannity. So last night, Senator Ted Cruz had a victory in Wisconsin in that primary, leading some analysts to predict that the odds now of a contested convention are higher than ever. And if this happens come July, my next guest believes that Republican delegates should unite around Senator Ted Cruz and Donald Trump in order to lock out the establishment. Here now to explain, author of The Greatest Comeback, Patrick J. Buchanan. Sir, I totally and completely agree with you. The only problem I see at this moment in time, Cruz supporters hate Trump supporters, Trump supporters hate Cruz supporters, and what you're asking is that they do the right thing, and they will have the power to do that, won't they?
They will, but you're exactly right in the point you just made. Both of them have what they perceive as vital interests. They're not fond of each other, and each of them wants to be the nominee. So that might militate against their getting together. For example, Trump might say, look, I want to put something together that enables me to get the nomination on the first ballot, but if I don't get it there, I'm not going to get it, and I don't really care about Ted Cruz getting it if I don't. So you've got you have a partial commonality of interest between the two of them.
And what about Marco Rubio? Marco Rubio still has more delegates than John Kasich, who's still in the race.
I don't know whether he can trade, but I'll tell you, here's what I think is going to happen, and I think should happen. I think Trump should really focus. I agree with you. Give up the Twitter account, focus in on New York, try to get as many of those 95 delegates, keep winning right on up to that convention, go out there, go after the unbound delegates, and then go after the delegates that might be bound to other candidates or who can trade them, and Rubio might be in that particular game, and try to win this on the first ballot. Because I can tell you, Sean, I think if Trump doesn't win it on the first ballot, Trump doesn't win it, because I think it breaks apart an awful lot of folks that are in the Trump camp now are there because they are pledged for one ballot or something like that. And once they are no longer pledged, they're gone.
All right, what about all of a sudden the newfound establishment love for Ted Cruz? Because we both know. Let's be real here. The establishment doesn't like Ted Cruz. They might have helped him in Wisconsin. Wasn't that more of an effort to just stop Trump? And
Sure.
Wouldn't the establishment be just as happy to deny Trump and Cruz the nomination?
Sure, they're telling Cruz, why don't you go up there? You're going to get a big medal if you can go up there and take that hill, Ted.
Yeah, exactly. So are you seriously? Are they using Ted Cruz? Are they basically? Yeah.
They will be at the burial of Ted Cruz after he takes down Trump, if he takes down Trump. But Cruz is a smart guy. He has to know this. But I think I see signs that he clearly is moving toward the establishment now, because I think he figures, look, they can't take Trump, and they may have to take me, so why don't they get together with me now? And if we can stop Trump on the first ballot, I get it on the second ballot, and what you watch. And that I will do a deal with those folks, to improve our conduct, etc. Take certain things they want, certain things we want. I think that's the coalition.
So then the guy, assuming that the votes keep going pretty much proportionally the same way they're going, that would mean the guy that had the most states won, the most votes, the most delegates, they disenfranchise those voters. What happens to Trump voters? Are they going to just sit back and say, oh, okay, we'll support Ted, or are they going to get angry? I would vote they get angry.
Here's what I think, Sean. I think there is a real battle between Cruz and Trump, and everybody knows Cruz has run second. He's run a terrific race. He's won a lot of primaries and delegates, and Trump is ahead of him. I don't think there's a great walkout or reason for it if they come down to it and neither of them's got a majority and eventually on the second ballot, Cruz emerges. If, however, they come walking in, the establishment does, and tries to take down Cruz and Trump and plant somebody from the establishment, after the rejection of the establishment is what this election's been all about.
What if one of the candidates has a 300 or 400 delegate lead and then is denied the nomination?
Well, if he's got 300 or 400 lead,
but shy of 1237.
I think then Trump, it's up to Trump, the deal maker, to make the deal and go over the top. But if you're 400 behind, there's no doubt about it, there's going to be real anger, alienation, and people walking out of the party. If the guy they went in there for came in that far ahead in votes, states, crowds, everything, and a plurality won.
What do you think? Look, I don't think polls are that accurate, these hypothetical matchups. If you go by them, Kasich does the best right now. Who do you think, when push comes to shove, has the best chance of beating Hillary?
I thought it was, I would have said 4 weeks ago, Trump. For the reason that I felt Trump could win states like Michigan, and he could do well in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, New York, on this economic nationalism issue, on the jobs going abroad, on Hillary and NAFTA and all of that. But there's been an awful lot happen in 3 weeks, which have driven his negatives up pretty high. So if you ask...
Can he fix that?
That's the key question. Can he fix that? We saw when he took off initially, nobody sort of wanted him, and all of a sudden he did tremendously in raising himself up and reducing his negatives. But when they go up a second time, can you take them down a second time? That's really the $64,000 question.
Well, you've been around this game a year or two. I mean, I would assume you have some knowledge about whether that can happen.
It can happen. I've seen Ronald Reagan was down 30 points or something like that during that year when he won that election with Carter. However, I remember Barry Goldwater was down 59 points. We did reduce it, Sean, to about 25.
Didn't actually work out the way you wanted, I know.
He was a great American, though.
Yeah. Listen, I hear what you're saying. All right, Pat Buchanan, I will say this. If they don't unite against the establishment and the establishment is able to pull off some shenanigans, I would argue that you're going to see a lot of people pack up and walk for good. They're not coming back.
Let me suggest something, Sean. Go with Trump and Cruz as a ticket. As they set up the Boston Braves, spawn insane and pray for rain.
All right. Do you think that ticket would win?
I think that ticket would set the country on fire. Wow. I really do.
Do you think it's possible? I know voodoo economics, they put that aside, but can they put aside what's going on here?
Well, if you well, the attacks on it, they've been savage, and it seems very personal with them also. Yeah. And it's gratuitous and all, and it's very hurtful, And
all right. So who's going to be the VP? Would Cruz accept VP if he has less delegates?
Fewer delegates, but the thing is, the only way for Cruz to find out if he's got fewer delegates is if he can stop Trump from winning the nomination. Yeah. On the first ballot, in which case things break apart. Yep. And I don't see how Trump comes back if he loses the first ballot and people start moving toward him.
So who are they going to move towards?
Will be in there, everybody will be in there.
They move towards. You predict they'd move towards Cruz.
Well, here's the thing. My prediction would be that Trump will move toward a Rubio or a Kasich if he's short on the first ballot. And he'll make
a deal. Or do you think they would say yes?
Yeah, I think Trump will have to make a deal.
You think Marco Rubio, who was called Little Marco, is going to go along with Mr. Trump?
Well, if he called me Little Pat, he gave me the vice presidency, maybe.
All right, we gotta go, Mister. You cracked me up in the crossfire days. You're still cracking me up. All right, Pat Buchanan. Coming up, so how can a GOP candidate clinch the nomination before the convention in July? Heather Nauert, Fox and Friends, she's here to break down the delegate count on the Republican side on the Hannity big board. Then later, is Hillary, now pay attention, Bernie Sanders, is Hillary trying to steal the nomination from you? We'll investigate tonight. Plus, remember the activist who exposed what was happening behind closed doors at Planned Parenthood? Remember they were selling baby body parts for Lamborghinis? Well, his claim, by the way, his home was raided by authorities, his claim. So was that politically motivated? And meanwhile, Planned Parenthood's off the hook. We have an exclusive investigation tonight. Straight ahead. Welcome back to Hannity. So Senator Cruz had a big victory last night in Wisconsin. Tonight at the Hannity Big Board with a breakdown of what it means for the Republican delegate count is Fox and Friends' own Heather Nauert. What do we got, Heather?
Hi there, Sean. Well, Senator Ted Cruz's victory in the Badger State increasing the possibility of a contested convention this July if a candidate fails to reach 1,237 delegates needed to secure the nomination. Here is where the current delegate count stands after last night's contest. Donald Trump is out in front with 743 delegates, but Senator Ted Cruz has been gaining. He now has 517, while Governor John Kasich is sitting on 143 delegates. In order to avoid a contested convention, Trump needs to win 56% of all the remaining delegates. Senator Cruz has to come away with 82%, and Governor Kasich, well, he is statistically eliminated from winning the nomination before the convention. He would need 124% of all those remaining delegates. Sean, the other big storyline that we are following is this. If there's a contested convention, will someone who's currently not running, like Speaker of the House Paul Ryan, be put forward as a potential party nominee? Well, the RNC chairman, Reince Priebus, he was on your show last night, and here's what he said. Listen.
Clearly, there's a rule in place now that candidates need a majority of 8 states, delegates,
but that's
in 8
Rule
different
40.
states, a majority, to be even nominated. So, I mean, this, and I've said it before, so it's not like I'm making news. I believe the candidate, our nominee is going to be someone running. And as far as this Paul Ryan talk, let me just say it again for the 10th time. Number 1, he's not running. Number 2, he doesn't want to. Number 3, he doesn't like this talk.
Let me ask the question this way.
But number 4, he's not going to have a floor operation to do any of these things.
Well, there you go. Sean, the next big contest for Republicans is less than 2 weeks away. New York State, 95 delegates will be at stake. We'll be keeping a close eye on that one for you. Back over to you.
All right, Heather's going to be back with the Democratic delegate count, and of course with the superdelegates, a big deal there. Are they stealing the nomination from Bernie? We'll talk about that. Here with reaction first, though, Fox News contributor Mercedes Schlapp and conservative columnist AJ Delgado is with us. All right, AJ, let me ask you to put on your lawyer hat for just a minute. I have Rule 40 right here in front of me, even though the rule will change. That was 2012. Why they changed these rules leading into this convention before the convention starts raises a lot of questions. But your interpretation, do you need a majority victory in 8 states to even be considered? What is your interpretation?
Yes, you do. But as you said, Sean, these rules are not set in stone. I mean, to hear some of the folks speak, it's as if, Moses brought these down from Mount Sinai. They could be changed at any minute. So really the establishment could change this on us even a few days before. That Rule 40, like everything else, can be switched.
But when we talk about the establishment, won't the Rules Committee, at least Reince Priebus is claiming, will be made up mostly of Trump and Cruz supporters, considering they'll have somewhere between 75 and 80% of all the delegates, right? So I would think that they would prevent any other candidate from coming in.
You would think, but then we've also heard talk. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mercedes.
No, that's right. I can tell you that the way it works is that pretty much for every convention, these delegates are the ones that will vote on new rules. So come the week before the convention, the Rules Committee is going to get together. They're picking 2 members from each state, 2 delegates from each state who are going to comprise of this Rules Committee. And yes, the majority will be Cruz and Trump delegates. With that being said, they both probably would like to see Rule 40 stay in place.
All right, Rule 40, does that mean on the second, third, if there's a 4th ballot?
That's the big question, Sean. That's the big question to see what would happen.
Now, as I read this here, each candidate for nomination of the President, Vice President of the United States shall demonstrate the support of a majority of delegates from each of the 8 or more states severally prior to the presentation of the name.
And I think, Sean, the rules will be set. There is this possibility of what is called a minority report, which they could try to amend when it goes to the whole floor of the whole delegation. So when it goes to the convention floor, these rules will be voted in the Rules Committee, then go to the convention floor for a majority vote.
Yeah, AJ,
and Sean, don't forget Rule 40. Yeah. It's only been around for a few years now. now. This
Since
could also be
2012.
eliminated. We'd like to see it. Cruz supporters and Trump supporters would like to see it stay in place, obviously. It helps our candidates. But it could be changed. Anything could happen precisely because these rules, especially Rule 40, which is so new, are so fluid. That's just the way the rules are written.
And it would need to be changed with the majority of the delegates, meaning what the Rules Committee takes to the convention floor, and then the majority of the delegates.
Why
vote
are
on
all these
rules.
establishment types like Boehner, Kasich's whole strategy, Mitt Romney, Karl Rove, these are all important people within Republican ranks. Why are they all suggesting that there can be another candidate that didn't even run nominated on the floor of the convention? Why do they keep saying that? Why do I keep reading, 10 articles a day about Paul Ryan's name possibly coming up if supposedly Rule 40 is supposed to prevent that, AJ?
Well, I don't think they'd have so much a problem with Cruz as they do with Donald Trump, and that's why we've seen the establishment since day one bring up the possibility of somebody else being the nominee, because Donald Trump really stands against the gravy train.
Is that why the establishment supported Cruz in Wisconsin, because they want to stop Trump and prevent anybody from getting to 1237?
Yes. Exactly right. Cruz is basically someone that they don't like, but they're willing to stand behind. He's really being used. They're willing to stand behind him or pretend to up until the convention simply to stop Trump. Then once they get to the convention, pull some trickery and have Romney, Ryan, Rubio even step in and win on the ballots.
Mercedes, I understand you're better. Well, you're his better half. That Matt was actually in the meeting where apparently a lot of these rules were being discussed and convention logistics. Did this come up?
Well, I'll tell you that this was in no way any sort of secret meeting or anything. It was to basically give operatives, political operatives, and media types who were there as well, the opportunity to understand what, if we end up in a contested convention, what are the rules? And there's a website up that has the lawyer of the RNC explaining what a contested convention means. As we know, it's a complicated process. The delegates
Can anybody
really,
else be nominated? Did you get that answer?
I think it all will lie, here's the deal, Sean, with the Rules Committee. The Rules Committee will set the rules for the convention. The convention rules change every election cycle, because guess what? There's new delegates every election cycle.
So you write the rules after the people have voted.
They write the rules.
This is insane.
Wow.
The rules are going to be voted on, yes, the week before the convention.
That's insane. I agree with AJ.
But you have to remember, Sean, you have to remember, the majority of the delegates so far will be Cruz and Trump delegates.
And they'll be the people on the Rules Committee.
They will be the drivers in the Rules Committee, absolutely.
All right.
And then it has to be passed by the majority of the delegates. Again, the majority of the delegates in the convention will be Cruz and Trump supporters.
All right, AJ and Mercedes, thank you. And up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
Well, he knew what the rules were when he decided to run for president.
Now, we're hearing a lot about rules this, rules that. Hillary laughing off complaints from the Sanders campaign about the large number of superdelegates supporting only her. It's a huge disparity. Is she trying to steal the nomination? Is the establishment helping her on the Democratic side? Fox and Friends, Heather Nauert, back to the big board, and then later tonight.
Why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying Mrs. in the ballpark, and that's fine. If it's still low, then we can talk about it. You would. I want to land with you more.
Remember those disturbing undercover videos talking about negotiating the price of baby body parts and buying Lamborghinis? Well, the guy that took on Planned Parenthood said that his home was raided yesterday by authorities, and was the raid politically motivated? He'll join us tonight in a Hannity investigation exclusive. Straight ahead. Welcome back to Hannity. So Hillary Clinton has lost 6 of the last 7 state contests to Senator Bernie Sanders. Now, despite that fact, she's still favored to win the nomination. Now, is this because the Clinton machine is cooking the books in order to beat out Bernie Sanders? Back at the Hannity Big Board with a special Hannity investigation. Fox and Friends, Heather Nauert. Big disparity with those superdelegates, Heather.
Certainly. Hi there, Sean. Well, it has been a tough couple of weeks for Hillary Clinton, but thanks to the delegate allocation process for the Democrats, Clinton is heavily favored to lock up her party's nomination. And the big reason why is that she has the support of the superdelegates. So it's important to take a look at what the superdelegate actually is. They tend to be the party elites from the establishment who, unlike pledged delegates, can support whichever candidate that they would like, even if it goes against the will of the voters. So with that in mind, here's a look at where the Democrats delegates count stands. Look at the total Democratic delegate count. Clinton has a sizable lead, but that's mostly due to the backing of the superdelegates. She has has 469 of them compared to just 31 for Bernie Sanders, and that's obviously a huge difference. Now, if you take that superdelegate support away and look at just the number of pledged delegates, it could be a very close race for Hillary Clinton, leading just by about 200. Sean, Bernie Sanders and his supporters have been taking issue with the nomination process, but earlier today, Clinton literally laughed off those complaints. Take a look at this.
Well, you know, he knew what the rules were when he decided to run for president, but most importantly, I think we will reach whatever number is required. We're going to continue to acquire delegates and add to our total. I have more delegates than he does in a broader margin than President Obama had over me at this time in 2008. So I think we're doing well.
I think we're doing well, she says. Sean will continue to keep track of this.
All right, so did I get that right? 469 for her and 30. Poor Bernie.
Yeah.
I'm feeling the burn.
And
right.
so is he.
Yeah, really, exactly. Thanks, Heather. Joining us now with reaction is Democratic strategist Penny Lee, Fox News contributor Kirsten Powers. All right, so you break it down. I mean, 6 or 7. Bernie, let's see, he won 82-18 in Alaska, your old home state, your own stopping ground. All right, yeah, exactly. 70-30, I believe, in Washington, and 73-27 in Hawaii. Now you've got this other big win in Wisconsin, much bigger than was anticipated and what the polls show. All right, so it's only a 202 delegate difference. This is a neck and neck race. But for the super delegates, 469 to 31.
Yeah, that's true right now. I don't know if it's going to continue to be true because most of the caucus states are behind us, and that tends to be where he does well. But listen, I'm sympathetic to the Sanders complaint.
I feel bad for him.
And I have a problem with the super delegates.
Or Bernie.
The idea is, I guess, to prevent somebody like a Bernie Sanders from getting the nomination. Though, like I said, I think Hillary will still ultimately pull it out, legitimately getting more pledged delegates. But it is a much closer race if you just look at that and the way it's been cast that, he should basically just get out.
Doesn't it seem like the party basically rigs it for the person they want?
Yeah, well, they didn't rig it just through superdelegates. They also rigged it through the debate process. And that was another thing that the Sanders campaign complained about a lot. That basically they set up the debate process in a way to protect Hillary Clinton and to not give Bernie Sanders as much airtime as he would deserve and expose her to being criticized.
You know, 25% of Democrats are now saying, Penny Lee, on the Democratic side, that they will not vote for Hillary if she's the nominee. That's a huge loss if, in fact, she becomes the nominee. If I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, I got to be honest, I'd be pretty pissed off.
And 75% said that they will. But, we also know that these polls are very, very early, and we're in the thrust of this primary campaigns, and emotions are running high. So people, might have that feeling now. But I also believe there's a lot of difference when the two candidates will come together.
469 super delegates to 31.
But Sean, this is a system that we've had in place since 1972.
And it's corrupt. It doesn't make it right.
And it is something. I mean, it's the same. You could say Hillary Clinton could have made the same arguments in 2008 when in fact she won the primary.
Isn't it corrupt?
First of all, I hate disagreeing with Penny. So first of all, who I adore. But I do have a serious problem with this. I think the decision should be made by the voters. It shouldn't be made by party insiders. And again, the purpose of this was precisely to protect against a Bernie Sanders type person who they think will lose because he's too liberal and he's not the person that they want. And I think that it should be a decision that's made by the voters. And look, I think Republicans right now probably wish that they had superdelegates. But I don't think that that's the way that we're supposed to make these decisions.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But I would just say she is leading in the voting too. She does have more people that are voting for her that have actually cast their votes and voted for her, regardless of where we are on the delegate count. More people have voted for her, so she is speaking to the will of the people, and the will of the people are putting her in front.
But she's only up 202 delegates.
Well, here's the other thing. I agree with Penny. I mean, I said this at the outset. I think she will legitimately win on pledged delegates. Most likely, we can't really predict the future. But look, even with the New York State delegates, there was a story in the New York Daily News that the superdelegates said even if Bernie Sanders won New York, they would still go with Hillary. That's not okay.
That's happening in others. That's happened all over the country up to this point.
Right. That's not okay.
That's not okay. And it seems that the will of the people on the Democratic side is not exactly taken into consideration. It's far from being democratic, if you don't mind the play on words there, Penny.
like I said, the popular vote is with Mrs. Clinton, and she is winning that, and
Barely,
so it is reflected.
by the skin of her teeth.
It is reflected, but I think it's important also to remember.
Email server, yeah.
But I also think it's important to remember in 2008. Remember, she won the last out of the seven contests and still lost.
Oh, still, you also have the issue of whether or not she'll be wearing an orange jumpsuit as a candidate, but that's a whole issue for another day. Thank you both for being with us. Coming up next tonight on Hannity.
A lot of people want attack cards these days. They're looking for specific notes. Maybe notes. I was like, wow, I didn't even know. Good for them.
All right, remember those disturbing undercover videos, Planned Parenthood exposed, talking about selling baby body parts? Oh, we'll get money for a Lamborghini. Well, the activist behind those recordings says that his home was raided yesterday. Was that politically motivated? And why are they going after him and not Planned Parenthood? An interview you'll only see right here tonight on Hannity. And welcome back to Hannity. So last year, the Center for Medical Progress released a series of undercover videos that appeared to show Planned Parenthood officials negotiating the sale of aborted fetuses. Now, take a look at some of the most repulsive moments. We've got to warn you, what you're about to see is extremely disturbing, especially to some viewers. Take a look.
A lot of people want attack cards these days. They're looking for specific notes. Maybe notes. I was like, wow, I didn't even know. Good for them. Yesterday was the first time she said people wanted lungs.
What would you expect for intact tissue? What sort of compensation? What sort of...
Well, why don't you start by telling me what you're used to paying? This is in the ballpark, and that's fine. If it's still low, then we can talk about it. You would. I want a Lamborghini. I said I want a Lamborghini.
Now, David Daleiden is the founder of the Center for Medical Progress, who is behind those videos you just saw. He now claims his home was raided yesterday by agents from the California Department of Justice. And according to Daleiden, all of his undercover videos were seized in that raid. Now, so is this seizure, search and seizure, politically motivated? We reached out to the California DOJ to get their side of the story. They said they couldn't comment. It's an ongoing investigation. Here with an exclusive interview is the founder for the Center for Medical Progress, David Daleiden. By the way, isn't selling baby body parts or altering abortion procedures to preserve baby body parts, isn't that illegal?
It is, Sean, and actually the very worst baby body parts violations in Planned Parenthood's baby parts harvesting program took place in California. Those clips your viewers just saw were all filmed with Planned Parenthood representatives and Planned Parenthood business partners in the state of California. But instead of investigating them and instead of going after them, Attorney General Kamala Harris, who's running for Senate and fundraising on her website off of Planned Parenthood, receives money from Planned Parenthood, just invaded my home the other day and took all of the video footage, including unreleased video footage. We're still assessing the extent of what they took and what kind of backup copies might be available. That they took everything, including footage that has not seen the light of day yet.
Here's the most important question. Those are videos, from my interpretation of them, and yours, isn't that people breaking the law? Did they go after them?
Absolutely, and in fact, Planned Parenthood's major baby parts partner in the state of California, STEM Express, is currently under investigation by the United States Congress. There's multiple subpoenas for their records and their transactions with Planned Parenthood that have gone out, and they're fighting tooth and nail both in their lawsuits against me and through the use of their political cronies not to have that information get out to the public.
David, it's very shocking. We'll stay on this case, and if they go after you, I'm sure a lot of people will want to support you. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm sorry you're going through this. When we come back, we have more Hannity right after. All right, time for our question of the day. So, do you think Hillary Clinton is trying to steal the Democratic nomination? Hey, Bernie, better start paying attention. Just go to Facebook.com/Sean Hannity, @Sean Hannity on Twitter. Let us know what you think. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.